So could you tell me about your economic plan? Has the American dream become unaffordable, do you think?
Well, my economic plan is basically the H.R. 1, also known as the Working Family Tax Cut, and also known as the Big Beautiful Bill. It includes a lot of tax policy changes that I think will really kickstart or boost the American economy, such as accelerated depreciation, no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security. In addition to that, there are some work requirements that hopefully will encourage people to get off welfare and back into the workforce if they are able-bodied. And that is another aspect of what I think needs to be done to enhance the economy, and that is to expand the labor force by getting more people off of welfare dependency. We need also to cut excess regulations, and we need to reshore manufacturing as much as we can to the United States and level the playing field in international trade for the United States. Since World War II, we've been subsidizing world trade, and we needed to do that when the world was in ruins and the U.S. was the only country standing. But so many 80 years later, we don't need to be subsidizing countries like China or Europe.
Would you vote yes or no on the Epstein Files Transparency Act?
Well, I'm generally opposed to turning over FBI files because they include so much in the way of uncorroborated and unproven accusations. But this is an exceptional situation, and exceptional situations call for exceptional remedies. And so in this case, I would vote for release of the Epstein files.
And what about yes, no on the Stop Illegal Entry Act of 2025?
I would definitely vote yes on that bill. We cannot ever have another open borders policy like what the Biden administration apparently had. It will eventually, sooner than probably later, destroy our country. And this particular act enhances border control.
According to census data, Illinois lost almost 300,000 people between the last two censuses, while the U.S. as a whole gained a 7% growth in population. What needs to be done to make Illinois a state that sees population growth over the next decade?
Tax policy needs to be better, or the state government needs to learn to live within its means. The state budget has gone from $38 million, I think, to $55 million since Governor Pritzker became governor. And they have paid for that extra revenue in part from more taxes. Instead, they should have been lowering taxes like states like Florida and California did, and in order to encourage more people to stay here and to move to Illinois. Illinois is generally a very relatively anti-business state, probably because it's been to a large extent captured by so many special interests, including the trial lawyers, including public or teacher union, the Chicago Teachers Union, which is now more of a political machine, it seems to me, than a union, and as a result of that special interest influence on the Illinois legislature and the governor's office, we have kind of an anti-business reputation and policy. We need to change that. Those two changes would make a big difference. Also, better education. Chicago is the big city in the country, and it's certainly in this state. But Chicago has failing schools, horribly failing schools, some of the worst in the country. And Chicago also has public safety issues, and so we need to correct that, particularly in Chicago. Chicago has lost a lot of the population, is responsible for a lot of the Illinois population loss.
Polling data shows at least 70% of Americans believe biological males should have no place in women's sports. Last year, Illinois Senators Duckworth and Durbin voted no on the Protect Women in Sports Act. Would you have voted no? Should biological males compete in girls' sports in high schools in Illinois?
Of course, I would vote no on that, and I don't understand how anyone could vote to allow men and women's sports. There are so many wrong things about, and I may have reversed that. I would vote to keep men out of women's sports. I forget how you worded the question. There are so many wrong things about allowing men in women's sports. I mean, first of all, you have so many women that have spent so much of their young lives training and achieving and competing, and in the case of like Riley Gaines, only to be defeated by a biological male. That is not fair. It also, in some sports, particularly boxing, but not just boxing, but also soccer, men playing in women's sports have caused injuries to women. So it's a matter of basic fairness, and it's a matter of injuries that we should not allow men in women's sports. And it's also a matter of locker room privacy. Young teenage female athletes should not have to undress in front of biological males.
With the passage of the Big Beautiful Bill earlier this year, we got no tax on tips. However, Illinois, along with Maine and the District of Columbia, has decided not to accept that, and they continue to tax tips. Do you support taxing tips?
I support not taxing tips, which is what H.R. 1 provides. I think that encourages work, and we need to do more to encourage work. Work is what makes life worthwhile. The work ethic is what keeps families intact, and the breakup of families is one of the greatest threats to civilization today. But there are too many people that are responding to the siren's call of welfare dependency, and too many Democrat politicians trying to expand the welfare state to put more people on welfare, including multi-generational welfare. We've got to correct that somehow, and work is the way to do it. And anything that encourages work, anything reasonable that encourages work, I support, including no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, and no tax on Social Security.
There are currently multiple bills surrounding artificial intelligence floating around Congress, many of them with bipartisan support. What kind of guidelines, safeguards, and policy do you think the federal government needs to implement to keep Americans safe from AI and to keep Americans from losing jobs to AI?
Well, we don't want to overregulate AI, but there needs to be regulation. It's a big new industry, and there are concerns out there about what it can lead to if not properly regulated. But we cannot overregulate it. We are the leader in AI in the world, and we need to continue to be there. So we need to be careful about regulation, and we need to involve the major players. Certainly, national security interests need to be well represented in the negotiating room over AI regulation. The AI industry needs to be represented, and some kind of a group representing consumers needs to be involved in this regulation.
Last question I have written here. Senator Durbin was one of the few Democratic senators that voted with Republicans to reopen the government during the shutdown. Would you have done the same?
Oh, absolutely, and I commend Senator Durbin for making that vote and reopening the government. That was a Democrat shutdown. It was, as all shutdowns are, really for the wrong reasons. I don't like government shutdowns, whether they're Republican or they're Democrat. It's usually, what they're about is you have a party that doesn't have the votes to get what they want done policy-wise or legislative-wise, so they decide to hold the government hostage to their demands. And in this case, that's exactly what the Democrats did. They wanted to make certain changes, certain economic changes, tax policy changes. They, at the end, said it was only about subsidizing Obamacare premiums for certain people, but it started out bigger than that. They did it for the wrong reason, and it was a terrible shutdown. It cost the American people and the government. The government should not have been shut down, and I thank Senator Durbin for helping end it.
Thank you. Those are all the questions I have. Anything you'd like to add?
Yes, there are only 8 statewide offices in Illinois. 2 of them are U.S. Senate seats. Right now, Republicans have none of those 8. Of the 8, 7 are held by Chicago, Cook County politicians. Senator Durbin is the only downstate of the 8. The 3 leading Democrats running for this nomination are all Chicago, Cook County Democrats, which means if I don't win this Senate seat, that all 8 of those seats will be held by Chicago, Cook County Democrats. Now, I have nothing against Chicago or Cook County. In fact, I have a condominium in Chicago. I love going to Chicago. I love Chicago. It is really a huge economic engine for the state, and we need to help Chicago, as I said, in terms of education and public safety as much as we can. But Cook County is just one out of 102 counties. And it seems to me that the other 101 counties deserve some representation. Also, because the 8 seats are held all by Democrats, Republicans are in the superminority in the Senate and the House in the Illinois legislature. This is a one-party state, and as a one-party state, it has a lot of corruption. I think an average of I think some 2,000 Democrat politicians, mostly from Chicago and Cook County, have been convicted of political corruption in the last 40 years. And there's and without a check and balance in the form of another party, it's an unhealthy state. A one-party state is an unhealthy state. We need to restore Illinois to a two-party state, and the way to start it is by electing me to the U.S. Senate. I'd love to have your support. Thank you.